And I'm gonna be high.
Good on you, Donald. I'm the Rocket Man, yeah.
I'm a rocket man. And I'm gonna be
Rocket Man.
I'm a rocket man.
We are arguably the experts in go-to-market and freight. We're, almost 10 million top line. We're big. We're a big company as far as agencies go. And so the business has like normal challenges. People leave, clients leave, the normal business stuff. Nothing feels as, scary, terrifying, important, all of the words, than this like cloud of AI. That has entered the ecosystem. Every time I see one of the tech bros posting outbound is dead, Claude just killed my marketing team, it's none of it's true. Like, you can't actually replace a strong go-to-market system with one Claude prompt. But just the fact that people think it might be true, or they're getting this impression that it could be true, it's terrifying for me, right? Full transparency, nothing else matters except for us staying on the cutting edge of what actually is true and what can be done in these tools. And I gotta tell you, I'm really anxious about Claude. And I've been saying this for. Are you like?
I'm
Yeah?
excited, and I guess anxious could be a word. Me and my business partners talk at length about could this just in 2 years, is this just going to do what we do, and do we need to just build that first so that shippers can just use it because we built it, or how do we approach that? So I'm on the same wavelength there.
I'm thinking about it in a different way. I don't know if you saw this, but Claude accidentally released their code.
I saw that, and I didn't believe it, and then I saw it all over X, and then my CTO Troy was like, "This is real." People just copied it and just put it in their own GitHubs.
Right. So now it's gone forever, right? It'll never go back to the way it was. And so I'm thinking to myself, if Anthropic can't control their own code, why am I trusting them with my entire operating system? Okay, so that's question one.
Yeah.
Question two, which was validated just yesterday by the All In podcast, is I've been asking, do we really believe that Google is sitting around Palo Alto on their hands? They are not sitting on their hands. They are watching Anthropic be first to market, gobble up the early adopters, and Google is going to come out with a suite of tools that do everything Anthropic does, probably and more.
And you can trust it.
And you can trust it. And so I built our operating system. I have what I want it to do. And today we are essentially filling all the Miro board boxes, right? So I did an elucid chart, and we're building the individual blocks, but I haven't stitched it together with a make or an N8N
yet. Yeah.
I just believe in my heart that a week from now, Google's going to come out with something, and I'm going to be like, well, thank God I waited, because now I don't have to redo the whole thing, and I can just build it one time. And then I'm also really, really aware we are the HubSpot partner for freight. So when HubSpot gets an inbound, we get the call to be the partner. I'm just really aware of what HubSpot is doing internally with AI. And so the combination of Anthropic, I don't know, I'm just not sure I can trust it, and what HubSpot's already doing, I feel like if we build the framework and we know what we want it to do, that if I just kind of hold my breath for another quarter, I will have been happy that I didn't race to building this whole operating system in Claude. Does that make sense?
Well, it makes a lot of sense, and I don't hear people say that very often. So that's a contrarian take, but it sounds more true than the popular take. And I resonate with when you're when the tech bros post the next thing. I follow that, and honestly, I saw an interview from Dario, which is the CEO of Anthropic, and he was talking about how it's kind of an interesting story. So all the developers in Silicon Valley, like they are using Claude Code or Opus 4.6 or Codex 5.4.
Yep.
And they're working on, they might be working on like tech startups or AI startups, etc. But it's not like building the LLM or building the model. They're building
Right.
on other tools with it.
Right.
And like they're doing 50% or 70% or 100% of their code is just they're letting the agent code it and they do the PR and then they're architecting. Well, he was talking about that. He's like, now some of the senior developers at Anthropic are doing the same thing. He's like, but it's a difference with a distinction, because it's not that they are using Claude Code to build a tool. They're using Claude Code to build Claude Code.
Yeah.
So if Claude is building Claude, then it's a flywheel, because like
Right.
they used to have their head of design came out and said they used to be like design P0, P1, P2, testing, production, and now it's
Like a
design
standard.
production.
Yeah, but that was a standard tech production ecosystem.
Yeah, they were following that, and they were going faster than most because they could go
Yeah.
faster with the coding agents. But now it's like design P0 production. And they're like,
other
hey,
thing
you can now use your whole Claude can use your whole computer. Claude can use Windows. Claude can do this. And I'm like, oh my God, you can use Claude Code to use your browser.
It's incredible. I'm using it every day, all day. I mean, it sends me an update of what I'm supposed to do every morning. It tells me what
Yep.
happened at the end of the day every day.
Cowork
I'm
is
using
amazing.
it. Cowork's amazing, and I'm really I'm happy with the human productivity tools. I'm all in. Like making my team more productive, pulling things out of Asana. What are the things that you didn't do today? Are we doing what we do, these end of week recaps for every client? Yeah. And when we started doing them, they were super laborious. Like you had to type in what you did that week. Now they're mostly coming out of Claude, and like the team is making little updates. Like I'm all in on productivity improvements with Claude. I'm just not sure I'm ready to or ask my clients, to be honest, may I please put everything we've ever made for you into Claude and let it do stuff for us. I don't know. They couldn't keep their own code. Like it's like they released it to the universe on accident. What are they going to do? And then the other question that I have is about cost, right? Did you see what Clay did? I mean, Clay overnight, these guys, all these tech bros built these Clay ecosystems. And then Clay was like, JK.
Usage based.
Yeah, usage based, right? And all of a sudden, this guy used to spend $4,000 a month building his company, and all of a sudden it's $8 million a month that he's supposed to spend on Clay. So I just can't imagine that Claude's gonna just not one day raise the cost of all this stuff. And in my heart of hearts, I have Google cannot be sitting around on their hands just trying to figure this out, right?
Yeah, I think Google is obviously, and I saw that same podcast All In, but I don't think Google's sitting on the sidelines. But my contrarian take is that Google is letting people iterate and figure it out, and then I think they'll just buy Anthropic. But that's my shot in the dark, and they're not going to buy them now because they're on a up and to the right. But Anthropic, yeah, Anthropic can't keep that up because the business owners like you or me, we're not entirely hey, we can just put everything on Claude, and the AI is going to get good enough that we can maybe say, hey, I don't know if you saw Google release Gemma 4 yesterday.
Yes.
And then it's oh, you can run it local. It's open source. It's on your computer. You could fork it, have your own GitHub.
Right.
And the cost will go to near zero on that, except for the server. And I'm well, if it becomes easy enough for another company to come in and compete in enterprise AI, but then they say, hey, we'll bring all these security things with, like Google would, but another company comes in besides them and says, hey, we figured out how to make this safe and have the benefit, then Anthropic's revenue, and they have to buy so much compute, it's like a teeter-totter of disaster potentially.
Yeah, exactly.
OpenAI is the other way around. They just have huge deals with all of the big, that's just circular money. Amazon and NVIDIA giving them $122 billion. And they just get all the... It's kind of crazy.
So speaking of go-to-market specifically, I'll give you some math that I think you'll appreciate. And then here's another question at the end of it. Okay. Mm-hmm. So we have 30-ish clients only in supply chain. So we do PR, demand gen, and we make the first dial only in this space. So we just contextually, we were seeing our clients that were sending more press releases were getting picked up more often by the LLMs. For your listeners who don't know what that is Claude, Gemini, ChatGPT, etc. I was on stage Tuesday at IWLA talking about this, and a couple people came up to me after and was like, "What is an LLM?" So just in case your audience, that's what
Oh
it is.
yeah.
I was very surprised, but it's okay. So to be found by the answer engine optimization. So when someone says, who is the best third-party logistics in the Southeast, right? To get the answer be, have the answer be you need to tell the internet essentially, which is what the LLMs are scraping, about yourself. So here's what we were learning, like contextually, was our clients that were sending more press releases were getting higher LLM pickups, which we can see inside of HubSpot. Okay, we didn't have any math. About 2 weeks ago, we got math. So this math comes from Muckrack, which is like one of the big PR data companies. 1% of all answer engine optimization, so the answers that you're getting from the LLMs, are coming directly from the wire, the press wire. If you don't know what the wire is, this is like if you're like the bleep bleep bleep, like the little ticker tape. It still exists, and now it's digital. But the press, the actual press, the AP picks, the Associated Press picks up these press releases. So press releases are delivering through answer engine optimization 33,000 answers a day. Okay, so that's one. Two, next number is 27%. So of an industry specific question, 27% of the answers are coming from trade magazines. So
Really?
inbound logistics, yeah. So now your inbound logistics, supply and demand chain executive, supply chain dive have become way more important. And you're not writing that copy just for humans anymore. You're writing it for the LLMs to search it, right?
Yeah.
And then the last number that's super important is 7. So Muckrack tells us that the LLMs, Claude, Gemini, ChatGPT, are resetting their search and index criteria every 7 days.
That's
so
crazy. That's
right?
normally like annually.
So crazy. So the thing you posted in January is no longer being indexed by the LLMs in March. So we at Lead Coverage have started a hypothesis. We're testing it right now. We're sending a press release every single week for the next 12 weeks. And we're going to see if our LLM volume goes up. My hypothesis is that it will. So what we're seeing right now, like in the marketplace, is send more press releases. That's like what we're doing today for GTM. Here's the interesting component back to our conversation about AI. The LLMs today are not incentivized the same way that Google was incentivized in the early 2000s. So in the early 2000s, I remember 2024, we were keyword stuffing landing pages to get found on Google.
Oh yeah.
But Google was publishing the algorithm because they wanted you to spend money on ads. So they were telling you, if you want to be found for LTL freight, use these words, these keywords, and spend this much money, and we will let you have all those eyeballs, right?
Yeah.
But the incentive was advertising dollars. The LLMs today are not incentivized by advertising dollars.
What are they incentivized by?
Exactly. This is the question.
Yeah.
Like, are they incentivized? I mean, Chat has been talking about doing ads, but they put it off after the Anthropic, serious
Anthropic Super Bowl ad.
super shade at the Super Bowl. So they're not doing that right away. So we're not seeing any algorithm come out from Chat on ads. What makes a great AEO post? We don't really know. No one's saying anything, right?
Yeah.
And none of the LLMs are publishing any guidance on how to make a great AEO optimized post or something. It's crazy.
Yeah, and then also it is sometimes fun to be like, hey, let's zoom back to 2024. ChatGPT couldn't search the internet.
Right.
I don't know if people remember that. Like if I wanted to I started to try to use it to write stuff and do research for me, and it would pull up a study from 2019. And I'm like, no, FreightWaves posted this today. I'd like you to summarize it for me. And it goes, I can't see today. My model is updated to this date and time. And now it's actually people, instead of using Google, are using the LLMs to get information about what's happening right now. and I use Grok the most because I'm on X, and then I just use Grok because it has like the full access to, especially if you're like, hey, what's going on with the Iran war? Grok knows everything about Twitter. Now it doesn't know the truth, but it does know what people are saying. And that's what I
Right.
want to know is what is everybody saying?
And so the LLM, like what's feeding it is so important. So Ryan Schreiber sends me a note and he's like, are the LLMs searching LinkedIn or not? And I'm like, I don't think so.
I don't
Right.
think so either, because when I
So I
try to,
asked Claude and I'm like, are you searching? Or I just ask it. I'm like, are you doing this? And it says no. Then we get a report from SEMrush that says it is, but LinkedIn is owned by Microsoft.
yeah,
So is the Microsoft LLM searching and delivering it somewhere? Like they're all incentivized by something a little bit different, right? Like Grok
Yeah.
is obviously incentivized by what's going on in X, and he wants to, Elon wants to drive people back to X, which is the money-making powerhouse for him. Gemini is obviously going to try to push you towards Google activities and potentially advertising dollars in the future. That's what their whole business is based on. So I just think back to like our original conversation about what do we trust? I think it's still all about incentives for these companies, right? And like, are their incentives aligned with yours?
You ever think people talked about like had these same conversations in like 1999 or like 2001? They're like, what is this internet thing? Like what? So now it does this first, or like PayPal. Like it's like, oh, nobody's going to give their credit card to the internet. And then
I'm sure they did. You and I are just too young to like
you know what I
remember
mean?
that. Yeah.
Like, I feel like they had
Are
the
you
same
saying that we're
conversations.
old
Like,
people? Is that what you're saying? That like
I
we're
think
the
we
old
are.
people?
I think that we are now old enough to speculate on what AI is going to do. But I actually, at least my intuition on it is that it'll go 10 times or 100 times faster than the internet did because it's powered by the internet. The internet had nothing to be powered by. AI is on steroids because it's on the internet. And when you give an AI access to all human knowledge that's ever been on the internet, instead of being like, hey, we have a library of books, let's start doing manuscripts and teach it, kind of makes it easier. But so you kind of needed the internet before AI. All right, let me go granular. Well, first, introduce yourself. What do you do? Where are you from? What do you do? What's your company? So the
I'm
audience.
Kara Brown. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me back. This is so fun. I'm Kara Brown. I'm the CEO of Lead Coverage. We are the only go-to-market agency specifically in supply chain. So we service anyone who we think about it as the physical movement of goods, the tech that moves the goods, and the money that moves the goods. I was number 12 at Echo. I got to do the IPO. It was super fun. And then I was at Seco and Geodis before I started the company. I have a partner, Will Haraway. He does PR and AR. I'm responsible for demand gen. We've got a paid team, a team that just does RevOps. We're a HubSpot partner. We're all the things, but only in supply chain. Oh,
So
and I wrote the book on it.
Yeah, you literally wrote the book on.
I literally wrote the book on it. Yeah, it's called The Revenue Engine. It's an Amazon bestseller. I always say I'm just as surprised as you are that it's an Amazon bestseller, but it is.
Well, I'm not quite that surprised, so maybe you're more surprised than me. All right, so you only help people that do truckload brokering then, right?
So that is a big piece of our business.
I was going to give you a chance to be like, but we do more.
We do way more, yeah. So I would actually, probably 30% of our book is freight tech, maybe even more.
I heard you say tech, so I got a little interested in that. So
yeah, so most of it, I don't know. I would say I don't know the breakdown of the client roster this minute, but yeah, I mean, we definitely have brokers in the mix. Super proud of our broker clients and some of the work we've done for them. Got a lot of free tech. And some carriers, actually my favorite clients right now, this is my favorite stuff, is we have 3 multi-billion-dollar clients, like multi-billion, like 8, 4, 6, that are installing their very first CRM. Thank you for laughing. I am so proud of these leadership teams for deciding that they need one. One of these customers has 1,000 sales reps and they've never had a CRM. And I'm just so happy to welcome these companies, into the HubSpot ecosystem, and we're helping them get set up. And I have a couple of really good friends from my days in SaaS that made fun of me actually when I started and I picked freight. And they were like, that's kind of ridiculous. That's old and boring. And I was like, I'm telling you, I'm going to win if I just stick with this. And they've all, switched jobs and have, had issues. Like tech is not having its like moment right now. And I'm like, oh, I have another $8 billion customer that's installing their first CRM. And they're like, okay, you win.
You know, I being a sales rep for so long, and then when I started Rocket, I still do sales, and I think about CRMs all the time. And you're happy, the client that you're working with is definitely going to be happy that they're going to have one. And like, this is like taking a huge, I don't know how you get to that many billion without it, but we'll leave that as a sidebar. But now, like, I guarantee like the top reps are like, dang it, now I can't cheat and game the system and be like, no, that lead is mine. It's in, like, I know we have a territory, but they asked about me and there's no written record. So it'll be fun to see. I don't know if you get to see much of it, but it'll be fun to be
We
a
do.
fly
We
on the
get to
wall.
see it all. We get to see the agent challenges. If you've got an
Mhm.
agent system, that's a whole nother set of challenges. We get to see, and it's kind of
The
fun
direct
because
versus agent. Yeah.
I get to kind of cast a little vision. I think at the beginning of a CRM implementation, everyone thinks it's going to be like sunshine and ponies.
Right.
And then I'm like, all right, if you choose, there's always a fork in the road. If you choose this fork, these are the downstream impacts, some good, some bad. If you
Right.
choose this fork, here are the downstream impacts, some good, some bad. It is up to you to choose. I can tell you what I think you should do, but it's your CRM at the end of the day. And so I think it's been really cool. We've been doing this for 10 years. We've done so many of these implementations, these CRM stand-ups, that I can now tell you, when you make this decision, this is what's going to happen,
Yeah,
right?
we've
Lead
seen it.
routing will
Been
be
there,
screwed
done
up. Yeah, like, one of the biggest issues we have is companies coming to us using Salesforce to start with, and they all use the lead object, which is the worst thing ever that SaaS has ever done to the universe, is the Salesforce lead object.
Yeah,
And
I
so
was a Salesforce user. I know all about it.
yeah, like everyone hates the lead object. And so, like, basically when we start, I'm like, all right, I have good news and bad news. Good news is we can fix this. Bad news is you have to give up the lead object. Like, you just can't use it.
Doesn't work.
Yeah, and I'll tell you why. And so I think it's very cool to be solving the problems for these multi-billion-dollar companies that count on us to do it, because we've done it so many times, and to like I said, like, cast the vision for these executives when you're showing them like what's possible.
Right.
And then there's always a moment where you're like, okay, so that was possible, but back when you picked this fork in the road 3 months ago, I told you that won't be possible if you don't choose this route, and you didn't choose that route. So now that is not possible. And they're like, oh no. And I'm like, yeah, I told you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I
it's
have
kind
a
of fun to be able
7-year-old
to
that I have to say the same thing to in the same tone. So remember when we had ice cream and I said we couldn't also then have another hot
Yes.
dog? We talked about.
Yes.
You chose ice cream.
Not to minimize my clients there, and
Yeah, but
when it comes to CRM optimization, you do have to make the right calls, and sometimes they don't.
yeah, and I wouldn't even say it like it did almost make light of it, but it actually is like when you're talking CRM or things like that with such a large organization, you have to be, your job is to be that clear and say,
Yes.
this is what will happen if you do this. And then when they come back and you say, well, here's our adjustment, but remember, and then if you don't do that, you will lose a client at some point as well. Cause then if you didn't communicate clearly enough and make sure they knew the consequences or the pros, whichever they were. Okay. So we built up your appeal to authority. I'll say that. Now let's get into, so you were talking about Claude at first. And we were talking about how, like, do we trust it? Can we put everything into it? Is Google going to do the next thing? Who's going to be the trusted player? And I think that that's like the huge thing in AI right now, especially for doing more than augmenting. Like, I think augmenting, I generally trust Cowork to augment my day. I give it access to Gmail. I give it access to Asana, Firefly, Slack. And I say, hey, you're my executive chief of staff. Keep me organized. It's amazing.
But I think those are human productivity improvements.
Yeah, augmenting humans is one thing, but full automation loops and data is a different animal completely. And I think that there will be some, like the tech bros you're talking about, like one man or one woman agencies that are like, I can go kill all the other agencies just by myself. I'll be a one-person billion-dollar brand. They can take all the risks they want. They didn't own a business to start. So they'll just start doing things and, we'll see what happens. But specifically for lead coverage and in the freight market, as I understand it, you guys build out a total addressable market. You build out the TAM for their ICP. You work with HubSpot, you work with other data partners, Sales Intel, Zoom Info, whatever it may be. You build the TAM with their ICP, you get it into an organized CRM if they don't already have one, or you convert them to HubSpot if they're on Salesforce and they're just unlucky to ever be on Salesforce. But then you do the first dial, and then it's the account executive's turn. How do you build out the TAM for a freight broker? Walk me through the process. I'll give you an example. This will be fun.
Yeah.
I'm a freight broker who specializes in reefer, and I'm at 10 million, and I've got like 5 sales reps and like 20 operations folks, and we're just stuck at 10 million. We can bring on new clients, but then we churn clients, and we're not cradle to grave, but the AEs do more than just sell. But I just don't, like, I cold call and I use Google Maps, and I just kind of like go off the list, and like I've used Apollo and I've tried it, and it's just like, I don't know how to get the right leads. What do you do for them?
So you're a little under our ideal customer profile.
Okay. Let me say 50 million.
Sure. So like 50 to 100 million, just because we're expensive, right?
Okay. Let's say that I'm funded and I'm 10 million.
Great.
There we go.
You can afford that, so I can afford you. It's kind of irrelevant, but the point is, we have a very basic philosophy, and if you don't agree with this philosophy, you should not hire us. Okay,
Right.
It's a very specific but basic philosophy, and that philosophy is you should own the email address of every human who can buy from you.
I like
And
it.
that is step one. That's step one.
Okay.
And so if you are, and you're probably geographically based if you're reefer, or industry based, okay? So you're either like Southeast or Northwest, and you are specific to some sort of mostly food and beverage vertical, right?
Yeah.
So there are 19,677 shippers in America with more than $7 million in freight. This is our math. So 20,000 logos. Of those 20,000 logos, only so many of them are going to be reefer in your very specific niche, right?
Right.
You need to own the email address of every single one of those humans. A couple of pieces of math that are really important. One, the email list that you pull out of ZoomInfo, Sales Intel, whatever it is, degrades at 25 to 30% every 90 days. So the list you pulled in January is not the list you should be emailing to or marketing to or calling against in March.
Right.
So you need a closed loop, repeatable process to continually find the appropriate records. And a record is what is my word for an email address, but it's not quite a lead, that sits into the top of your HubSpot. We like 3 forms of data, 3 data streams. Sales Intel is our preferred tool. We don't think ZoomInfo is the right tool for freight. So we like Sales Intel, Clay, and then a third tool just kind of round it out, which we like selling.com because it's free and it's kind of easy to use. So you have this, and where AI makes a lot of sense is to pull these 3 lists together into Clay, drive the identifying of the fresh
waterfall and the phone number.
exactly, and then drop them into HubSpot, clean them up and drop them in HubSpot. Great use of AI. So this is the number one thing that most of our prospects and clients don't do.
Yeah.
They're not regularly updating the list of humans who should buy from them. Okay, once you have this list, then you do one very specific thing with it. It's called primary intent data. It lives in HubSpot. All you have to do is go into the back of HubSpot and turn on buyer intent. It's a button. You just turn it on. And buyer intent tells you the humans that are in your CRM. And because you know the email address of every human who can buy from you, if they're in your CRM, they should be ideal customer profile that come to your website. Trick question for you. What is it when someone that you know should buy from you comes to your website? It's a trick question.
I believe that's an inbound lead.
That is also a friggin' miracle.
Trick question.
It never happens. Like, it's so rare that it actually happens. Inbound leads don't happen in free. They just don't, right? Like, we don't build an inbound cycle because it almost never happens. Now, it has happened. We can do it, but it's pretty rare. Anyway, if this happens, if a human that you know should buy from you comes to your website, the buyer intent in HubSpot should send off a 5-alarm fire. Like, everyone in HubSpot should know that Starbucks is on your website. Like, everyone, the CEO should know that Starbucks is on your website, right? That phone call needs to happen within 5 minutes, right? Like that
Speed to lead.
first phone call, like that is the speed to lead, but it's the intent inbound speed to lead that's so important. Most of our clients get that wrong too.
Right.
Then you're looking for intent data in addition to that coming to your website. So are they looking at your competitors? Are they looking for something else, right? We're looking for the pain before the pain. Have they had a problem with their current vendor? Are they changing their distribution profile? Are they standing up a new location? What can we find out about them in the marketplace? And that all comes through intent data. There are 4 types of intent data. Primary, we just talked about. Secondary intent data is what ZoomInfo is selling, and it's based on Bombora. In 2026, we are not investing in Google cookies or Bombora. So there's a big brand in freight. I won't share the name because I'm under NDA, but a brand that you would know, spent a couple $100,000 a month on paid media.
It's rocket shipping, guys. It's rocket.
Totally rocket shipping. Yeah. Current client. And they saw Google paid media was cannibalized by the LLMs to the tune of almost 40% last year. So we assume it's only getting worse.
Yep.
So anything that uses Google cookies as intent data, we're just not spending money on it. If you already have it, great, keep it, but don't buy it fresh because it's just not going to get any better. Right. We really like third-party intent tools. The best in the space is 6 Sense, the number 6, the word sense. It's $180,000 a year. Almost no one can afford it in freight, but the big guys are all using it. And this kind of searches the entire internet to see what the pain before the pain is. But the tools that are coming up in the marketplace, like Terminus and Rollworks are our favorite. Here's the key. A third-party intent tool uses a very specific kind of technology called programmatic media buying. Very specific. Google and LinkedIn is a defensive posture. Someone has to type in something to see your brand. Programmatic media is an offensive posture. I can send things just to you, the human, and surround you with my advertising through a programmatic media exchange. But they cost money, and it doesn't come out of HubSpot.
Every consumer has experienced programmatic from the consumer side. All the time.
Every time you go into Facebook or Instagram or whatever you're logging into to get your X, whatever it is, every time you're targeted, that is programmatic media. So we're just using it in the B2B environment.
And if you linger for a split second too long on a men's hair loss product, Lock Lab and Hims will follow you to your grave.
Forever. That's right. That's right.
It's unbelievable.
Same thing with luxury bags, in case you were wondering.
There you go.
Yeah, luxury bags, same thing. So the last piece of intent data is called single stream intent. We have one tool that's doing this today in freight, and that's Carrier Source. So Rob Light at Carrier Source is selling intent data of what shippers are looking for on his website back to brokers. It's brilliant, full transparency. I'm on the cap table. I love this tool specifically for brokers. And so once you own the email address of every human who can buy from you, you are regularly updating that. You can take advantage of these 4 types of intent data. Okay. If you're not starting there,
whose intent are you looking for?
Exactly. And so most of the people that that come in the door, the language they use is like anyone that ships. And we're like, it's just not helpful. That's probably not true. You're not doing hazmat intermodal, right? So let's have a real conversation about who you're actually. The other thing is the idea of an ideal customer profile and a wish list is very important. I read about this in the book. An ideal customer profile is your current customer.
Yeah.
People you actually work for now.
Yeah, at least if you want to work for them.
Yeah, exactly. That's a wish list. And that's okay. You can have a wish list, but don't call it an ideal customer profile if it's not a current customer, right?
You're right. It is odd naming. It's ideal prospect profile or something similar.
Sure. Yeah, we can call it something else. We usually call it, unicorns.
How many unicorns exist?
Yeah, but if you really think that you can ship for Bob's Shoe Company and then you can go close Nordstrom, all right, I doubt it. I highly doubt that you're sophisticated. You know what I mean? And there's a sophistication spectrum, when we think about an ideal customer profile, we think about how big they are and how sophisticated their tech profile. Like, what is their
Right.
technology profile? Because it's so important. If you can't handle EDI or APIs, or your TMS is, you built it yourself because you vibe coded it instead of using a halfway decent TMS, and you can't, you know what I mean? Like, you can't
Yeah.
service some of the big shippers, and that's okay, right? Like, just own kind of where you are in the marketplace today, I think, is probably the advice I would give.
Okay. Here's my take on something. So we do a lot of this same thing. But what I've found with AI is that I can have, so our ICP is big and bulky LTL shipments going to residences, and we offer white glove, or we offer curbside, or we offer what I call gray glove, which is threshold. It's cheaper than curbside with some carriers, and it's not white glove. But we just try to find every brand that's shipping something too big for UPS and FedEx, and kind of not really that big for LTL, but they ship at LTL. And we have our TAM built out, and that's our ICP. But a lot of companies that we work with do a lot of truckload and LTL shipping as well. And like, we almost always start with their final mile home deliveries, and then they say, all right, let's put the rest into your platform. We have a pretty lean team on purpose. AI is now allowing us to have multiple TAMs because I can do
Yeah.
so much. So I can target different industries in the same exact way as like I did originally. It's like, oh, we have a different TAM. As long as our technology, which it does, can handle all of it, now I can actually go after such a broader market with the same sales team. And it's like, put us on steroids. It's so cool. That's why that's one of our best AI use cases so far. But we did have to get really customized with some vibe coding and some actual development and some other stuff to be able to, one, use like OpenClaw or Claude to work with Clay, to work with ZoomInfo, to work with Apollo. I'm actually meeting with Sales Intel next week,
Oh,
coincidentally.
great.
A
Tell
news.
them I said hi.
He called me yesterday, and I said, "Bro, normally I don't take cold calls, but I'm meeting with Kara tomorrow, so I think I'll probably take a
Send this
meeting."
to Manoj and Mike right now. I'll be like, by the way,
I'm gonna be like, I'm in there.
my referral check.
Yeah, I must be in their intent cycle. I'm in one of the 4 phases of intent. They knew
I
it.
love
They're like, he's talking to this. Oh,
it. He's talking
here we
to
go.
Kara.
They had the actual sales intel on Rocket. So, but we had to engineer that, and that we built that out over the last 6 months on the front end. But now that we have it, we have 4,700 companies in our TAM. We own all their emails, but that's
Love
for
it.
our big and bulky ICP. And we also realized we can go worldwide because all of them sell into the US. And that was like a huge difference for us. We're like, whoa, all these brands that ship pergolas and different huge items are headquartered in Germany and the Netherlands, but they sell into the US. Didn't even consider that. The AI told me that. I was
Yeah.
like, find me all these brands. They go, these ones are international, but I went to their website and I checked it, and you can buy in the US. I'm like, then that's US. But the Zoom info filters would have filtered them out completely.
They would have. And so, yes, I'm 100% with you. Another tool for you to think about as you kind of look at the EMEA market as folks who could buy from you in the US is Cognism. So Cognism is the EMEA version of ZoomInfo, essentially, but it has a much better footprint in EMEA than ZoomInfo does. The only thing
Nice.
to consider when you start to market to EMEA is they're very aggressive about GDPR. So
Okay.
don't mass blast Germans.
Yeah, they are super aggressive on that.
They don't like that. They will definitely call you on your bluff, and you'll end up paying you could end up paying serious fines for GDPR.
Yeah, we use a tool called Smart Lead, and we basically like have all these different inboxes, and we monitor the deliverability. And that actually came up when we did that with Germany. It was like, whoa, you can send 2 emails a day. I'm like, 2? What do you mean?
Yeah,
2?
you really shouldn't even send 2, to be honest.
Yeah.
In EMEA, they have to like actually opt in for this stuff.
Yeah,
So they
have to agree to be solicited, which is such a crazy thing. I'm like, well, that's
it is,
like,
but they're very serious about it in Europe. I was on stage at IWA, and someone asked me about GDPR in the US, and I was like, lucky for us, it's still the wild west. Like, as long as there's a business reason for you to email someone, which is why your inbox is full of AI slop right now, because everybody
the business reason.
That's right, business reason. But in EMEA, they do take it pretty seriously. So just be a little careful. And the folks at, give me the name again. We don't use it. You just said it. Your email tool. send
Oh, Smart Lead.
Smart Lead. Thank you. Smart Lead. I don't love the tool Smart Lead. It basically like sets up a bunch of burner domains so that you can spam people to death.
It does. But we use a thing called Photon to like actually host all
Yeah,
of our emails. And then part of our email strategy is that we will put companies into campaigns once we've worked with them. And so it's
yeah,
like, hey, close lost or failure to launch. And then we put them into Smartly to stay in touch as a nurture campaign. Smartly
yeah,
can be used as a like a sending gun. Like, hey, you can just blast burner emails through it. I've
yeah.
never actually used it for that. And I don't think it'd be that effective in freight because it's just like, hey, if you can't do personalized outreach at scale, which is what people think they can do, but it's a little harder than that. AI is certainly getting closer to personalized at scale, but
So
personalized beats scale every time.
yes, and HubSpot and Claude are now available inside of each other. This is
Really?
brand new. Yeah, like as of last week. So you
Ooh,
can now personalize using Claude and it can literally write into HubSpot. Yeah, just
mic drop
happened.
there.
Yeah, like mic drop moment, what, 45 minutes in. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
HubSpot's going to take Salesforce out to lunch with this, I think.
I
Salesforce
I
is going to be fine anyways, but
I mean, Salesforce will always be the enterprise tool, right? You're never
yeah.
gonna go into an enterprise and not see Salesforce or some remnants of Salesforce. But the ease of use of HubSpot. The other thing for us on the marketing side is the combined database of marketing and sales. And in
Yeah.
the CRM instance, like when you have a Salesforce, you have to share this data, and the integration between Salesforce and HubSpot is where things go to fail every single time. And the darn lead object, I just don't know. I just like the worst thing that ever happened to, the sales game. It's just so not my jam. And so we're super bullish on HubSpot. And what's amazing to me is I told you that we've got these 3 or 4 multi-billion-dollar clients. We don't
Yeah.
do Salesforce spin-ups, we do HubSpot spin-ups. So HubSpot is like definitely taking Salesforce to lunch in some of these big enterprise environments.
Which is
On the
not where they
CRM
normally
side.
played, and I think that will be a trend. All right, I'm going to pivot here. So we've talked a lot about like the front end to go to market. Now, when you say you make the first dial, what does that mean? Because freight brokers like they cold call, and so
Yeah.
if lead
So
coverage is
here,
making the first dial, are they making the first dial to do what Zoom Info does, which is like, hey, are you this person, and is this your email, or what is this first dial you speak of?
yeah. So our first dial is very specific. It is against the records that come through the engine that we have built.
Right.
So I'll give you a very specific example. So there are 3 strategies that work in freight today, only 3. One is a true executive thought leadership motion. This is like an index. 2 is intent data, and 3 is third party validation. So this is Gartner or a really strong partnership strategy. Okay.
Right.
So we'll just use the first one as our first example. So we have a client, they are really big in steel. So we put out a steel index. Do you know how many steel distributors and manufacturers there are in America?
A lot, but
No, 123. That's it. It's a
golly,
very small
I would
number.
have thought so many more than that, but it's actually
Nope.
just
It's
big
like
companies.
less than
Okay.
200. But if you think about like real big, like manufacturers, distributors, I'm not talking about guys that stamp steel. I mean, like
Yeah.
the folks that are making the stuff, right?
Okay.
So
Fair.
there's a really small number. So it's like, I don't know, maybe 1,000 people we have to get this index out to. So the index goes out. It goes out. I think this one's quarterly. You want to talk about inbound? We had 9 inbound form fills from the last time this one went out, which is a crazy number of inbound for any freight broker, right? We're doing jumping jacks. We're so excited. The goal for our reps is to make the dial against the humans that show interest in the campaign asset. Does that track?
Fair. Yep.
So we are not pulling lists out of Zoom Info and cold calling.
Using
We are
monster
calling
connectors,
exactly.
Salesfinity, and just going crazy.
Yeah, and like I grew up on the floor of Echo Global Logistics. Like this is I know the game. Like I remember the boys in the back of the room just opening the phone book and just banging dials. Like it was Wild West back in the day. It was so fun. But this is a much more sophisticated approach. And so if we're dialing against the humans that show intent, we're seeing like a 40% conversion ratio. if we go further up the funnel to like where they're not quite showing intent, but they know who we are. So they've shown like 1 or 2 digital intent signals. So they've opened an email, they've come to the website, they're kind of like sniffing around. That's like a 6% conversion ratio. When you get up to the top of the funnel, where like most people are really strangers, they don't actually know who you are. It's a 1 to less than 1% conversion ratio. And that's actually HubSpot math.
And that's not like people think of that as like, oh, well, it wasn't a targeted approach. No, it's 1% when you actually can do something for that company and they're total strangers.
Yeah,
that's
and
what
I'm
people
talking
like.
about
It blows their minds. They're like, no, we can serve them. We're the best at this type of oversized, over dimension, etc. And they're still strangers, so it doesn't matter. Like
they're still not going to pick up the phone. They like these guys, like Paul Estrada is a friend and he works at Niagara and he's like such a wonderful person for me to like bounce ideas off of. He's like, I get 155 emails a day. Like people call me all the time. Like if I don't know who you are, I'm not going to pick up the phone. And so our goal, especially with this index or the executive thought leadership approach, is to show you that you are the expert. So this client we have is the expert in steel transportation. It's not that sexy, but to the 200 people that are actually interested in steel transportation, suddenly they become the expert. And then when you do pick up the phone to call them, they do want to talk to you because you've given them some sort of economic, in like information or something that'll make their job easier instead of just, hey, we ship. Can I get on your next RFP? Can you give me 1 shipment, right? Like, so the really strong ROI producing campaigns that we do are hyper niche, which I appreciate. Early on, you were talking about like reefer, right? Okay, reefer for very specific products in a very specific time period in a very specific region. You can put math against that, right? Yep. You can borrow DAT's math, right? Use what DAT publishes, put it in your own index, ask them if you can, they'll usually say yes. Put it in your own index, give a point of view on it and say, this is either right, wrong, or we're indifferent, right? Like sharing an actual economic point of view with the people that you can serve is the easiest way to get folks to actually pick up the phone.
Well, I got more value out of you than I anticipated again. Now I know where I could move someday. That was before the recording, but if you need to know where to move, just reach out to Lead Coverage. But if you think about go-to-market, let's say 12 months from now, you don't have to name which company it would be, whether it's Google or Anthropic, but do you think Lead Coverage will be on a platform like fully automated like that by then, 12 months?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think I have to make the call probably this quarter, right? Like, we know what we want it to be. We built the framework.
I've seen your Miro board, so it is.
Yeah, thank you.
Built.
The Miro board is built, right? We have the team are all working on the point and the point of friction. I don't think I can go another quarter without choosing. So if it's going to be Claude, it'll be Claude because we'll have to pick at some point here pretty soon. But the team is focused on personal productivity gains, which are helping the business, even if it's not like going up. The other thing I have to do is I have to go to my customers and kind of, I guess technically I don't have to ask, but as a business owner, I feel like I should. Like, hey, Mr. Customer, I am getting ready to load everything into Claude. Before I load all of your stuff in here and build assets in Claude, are you okay with that? And so I need to kind of have a point of view on why I chose the tool. I need to know about the, securities. How are we going to lock it down a little bit? I'm not I'm not building code, so I don't need to be SOC compliant or anything, but they need to be able to trust me that 1, I'm not just deploying it into some random, tool. And 2, that I know that I have a plan for if stuff goes wrong. So I think
you're not building the whole thing on OpenClaw with a Mac Mini and Mac Studio tethered together.
Right. Yeah. So I take a picture of my 8 OpenClaws on my thing and just send it to my clients. Like, hey, look what I built for you.
My favorite memes right now is like, just got done with our staff meeting and it's just like 8 Mac Minis and him.
Yeah, exactly.
The performance, the context window continued to break, but other than that, team, you did great. Roger, you need to pick up your game.
Can you imagine the email from me to my clients? Like, hey, I fired the whole team. We're just going to do everything in Claude prompts. Like, you don't need an account manager. We're good. It's just look, here are the 8. Here's the, I have 35 Mac minis now, and I'm just going to run it all on Mac. Like, it's
Yeah.
just not realistic.
Well, even if it was, this is something that I've been thinking about a lot as we implement more and more AI. And like we have a development team, and actually we use Cloud Code or we use Codex 5.4 like for our GitHub and our architecture, but we still code. It's not like we just say, and I vibe code. I can't code, but I do vibe code and I'm pretty good at it. So I always tell our CTO, I'm like, hey, I'm coming for your job.
Coming for your job.
But I only do stuff internally. But I mean, that's like supercharging some of our stuff. Like an example is we have a customer that's new. Onboarding clients is difficult when you have to do an API integration into their custom built WMS, right? And we wanted to get started. They had orders. It's their peak season. They're shipping some huge patio stuff. And it's like, well, they have 100 orders a week. They need to send them. So they just started sending us CSV files, which is fine. But in their format, it was like, people in freight will understand this. It's like one order has 8 cartons. It's 8 line items and all of them with the same order number. And they had length and width, but they didn't list height. And it's like, okay. And there's no accessorials. And they're like, hey, book all these, please, and quote them first. And
Yeah,
like,
book them.
And so I pulled my team and I'm like, all right, we're going to manually do this until, and then we figured out with CoWork, we're like, hey, every time this spreadsheet comes into this email address, transform it into this CSV file so we can put it into our TMS and automatically run our ShipMind integration and quote everything. And then the customer can say yay or nay. And that saved us like 3 hours per day with that one client.
That's amazing. And you don't have to have a human on the team typing in every word, copy and pasting. Yeah, that's a great use of AI.
And then it's like, okay, perfect. Now the pressure on the API integration goes away. Like we want to API integrate, but we can do it at the right time and build it the right way instead of like, hey, instead of shipping these features, we're going to do this integration because we're always picking and choosing in our sprint.
And it's going to take 6 weeks for us to get it done. And then the customer's like, never mind, I don't need you anymore. Right.
So that's been like a huge enablement for us. But overall, I mean, the internal tools of like data analysis, or like, hey, I need to, like one of our big enterprise clients wants to know what their exposure to fuel surcharge is going to be on middle mile lanes for all-in rates. So I just took all the data from everything, and then I took the recent data and I said, here's how much the carriers are asking for, and put it together in Claude. And we have like our own little forked instance for AI as well for like when we put customer data in it, it's not the normal version. And that's why you need real developers. But because I couldn't do that. But I can put it in there and it can't search the internet, but it can read that data. And it just spits out the best visuals and insights and can read 10,000 lines of data. It's amazing. So I think AI this year, like since February, has been so powerful. And now it's like, okay, I think it's going to continue to do that. But the automation side does kind of scare everybody. It's like, okay, can we just like click go and it actually just does it? How do we... I think humans don't understand. Even the best software developers right now are like grappling with, how do we know once we turn it on the full automation if it's doing the right thing, and how do we keep up at the pace you can't review it forever. At some point you go,
so I have 2 thoughts on this. One is I read something somewhere that said 10, 80, 10. So 10% human input, 80% robot, and then 10% human check.
Yep.
In the Miro board that I built for our GTM OS, I have very specific human checkpoints.
Right.
And I think I think we have to build the architecture of what we want the whole system to look like. And you have to put in the human in the loop components. And really it's a leadership responsibility. It really is. Like my team, if I told them just go hog crazy, they would just do it all in AI and they would spit out a, creative brief and who knows what it would look like, right? It really is the leadership team's job to decide where the human in the loop is going to be. And I think when we first started talking about this at our last 2 retreats ago, actually, probably December, I was like, guys, I want you all to go out there and use it and figure it out. But I got to tell you, there's no CEO school for this. Yeah. Like I'm learning at the same time you are, right? Like there's no club that I can join where they like tell me how to manage this. We are all going to do this together. And I think the leadership position of where is the human in the loop and how do I lock this down and what do I trust from an enterprise perspective are the 3 questions that I'm not seeing the tech bros answer on LinkedIn, right?
Well, and it also, like, to pull that thread, it gives a huge advantage to the mid-sized companies who embrace this because their CEOs, generally speaking, still understand how the business runs, how their customers
Right.
interact. And the larger companies have so much bloat that it's like a manager, a director, a senior director, a VP, a senior VP, and then a CSO.
Well, I
And
think
they,
you're
if they're not still involved in how the customers interact, how do you even begin to say, hey, I'm going to automate the workflow for this big
right.
customer of ours if they don't know how the freight moves and how the system works and what they're building and how they're quoting? So it gives an advantage to compete on the same scale as the big guys in freight or in any industry if you actually still know how your company runs and if you're lean so you don't have a bunch of people that are just trying to use AI for no reason. I think that's
Yeah. So I
the
think
other
the
side.
one caveat to that though is CH. I mean, they
Yeah.
are way ahead of the curve. I mean, in terms of, how they quote, like the quoting system and using it. I mean, like
They
at
are
least it's what the marketing team is putting
They're way
out.
ahead
Like,
of the
I
curve for
believe
a
it.
big company for sure. Like they're so far ahead of where people would think they are, but they have the toughest problem to solve probably of any company in the space, which is, and like Facebook had this same problem and Mark Zuckerberg just said, I'll fix that problem. And he laid off 30,000 people. CH Robinson, their AI is actually really good. I've seen it. They could lay off a lot more people than they did, and they don't want to do it publicly, and then they kind of do it quietly. I just hired one of their amazing operations manager out of Fargo. She was there for 9 years, and they shut down that whole department. They didn't. That's not a press release, but she was in Fargo, and I was like, sick. 9 years of LTL operations experience.
Let's
Come
go.
right down
Yeah.
the street. You can start tomorrow, and she did.
Yeah.
They have such a difficult task of manage, and they're publicly traded to manage that I think that they have an advantage because of their size and their AI, but they still have a huge problem to solve, which is like Rocket, we can displace 0 employees by implementing AI. We just don't have
Sure.
to hire as many as we go. There's some companies that have to displace a bunch or put them somewhere
Move them
else in the
around.
org, and they're
Yeah.
going to try to figure that out. And then the freight market today obviously is ripping. So then it's like, well, it's kind of ripping. Depends on who you ask.
Yeah. I was
Uh,
gonna say some people say it's ripping.
like I'm in between. If there's a spectrum between Ken Adamo and Craig Fuller, I'm somewhere in between. I should make an index, and it should be a Fuller Adamo index,
You
and just
should. You
start
should totally do it.
sending
Right
them
down the
out to
middle.
our.
Right down the middle between Adamo and
Yeah,
Fuller. Just
yeah,
call it like right down the middle. I love it.
yeah. You could probably add like Jason Miller in there, and just have like a
Yep.
bunch of memes about it, and like Freight Caviar could run with
I feel
that.
like
But
Frank Caviar already did that. Yeah.
yeah, they pretty much did. So, all right, let's leave something of
This
value
was
for
so
the.
fun. Thanks for having me.
Let's leave some of value for lead coverage. Who's your ICP?
It's funny. Anyone that ships, just kidding. No. Freight brokers, freight forwarders, 3PLs, 4PLs, robots, anyone that touches supply chain. So
Okay.
anyone that's in the supply chain ecosystem, but I am useless in beauty. I'm useless in dental. Like, don't call me if you are, are doing something outside of the supply chain ecosystem. But we serve the whole market.
Big or small, who do you want? Like if they're listening to this, they're out there and like, man, I like that go to market stuff, and I don't want to have to try to figure out this AI thing, but it sounds like Eric can. So
Yeah. So we are expensive. The way that we go to market is we are a retained shop. So you sign up for a year. Our top customers, our biggest customers, pay us, $90,000 a month. Our minimum is 2025. So if you got an extra 20, 25 grand laying around and you want to try some of this stuff, I'm your girl. If not, if that's too much, we can still have a conversation. I am so passionate about getting this information into the hands of anyone in freight. I don't want people to be like, oh, I can't afford her, so I can't call her. Like,
right.
We are doing workshops all over the country. So I've got a workshop on April 10 in Dallas. It's $50. It's half day with me on the workbook. We're coming to Salt Lake City. We'll be in Nashville in May.
And
I'm
Fargo, June 14th.
You're on my list. Yeah. I just want people to think about go to market in a more sophisticated way. I want everyone in freight to have access to these tools. I want them to know what the best practice is. So if you can't afford me as like an agency, I still want people to feel like they can have access. That's why I wrote the book, right? I wrote the revenue engine so that I could get it in your hands. We have a workbook. It's 80 pages, 28 exercises. You can get the workbook from me. I'll give it to you for free. Like, I don't want people to think of me as like a gatekeeper. I want people to think, wow, I'm going to listen to her and I want to like follow what they're doing. And eventually, if I can afford her, I want to hire her. But even if I never can, I want to follow what she's doing so that I can kind of stay abreast of the market. I had a guy call me last Easter, actually, and he asked me a question about HubSpot Salesforce. And he said, oh, I bought 6 cents because you told me to. And I said, I'm sorry, we have never spoken. Like, I don't know you. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, oh, I follow all your LinkedIn posts and you're really bullish on 6 cents. So I just bought it.
180,000.
I was like, okay, next time you should call me because I could have gotten you a discount, right?
Yeah.
So I don't want anyone to walk away from any sort of pricing relationship with us, like, oh, I can't ever afford her. And then we'll do just the HubSpot spin up for way less than a monthly engagement. So
Yeah.
We are expensive. I know that we are the best in the space.
Freight is an interesting industry, though. You could say you're expensive, but like if I used to run an e-commerce company back in the day, it was a really fun time, total failure, but it was fun. And I got to learn about paid ads and ROAS and all of the marketing stuff and like keywords and SEO. And it was and Shopify. And now I work with brands who use Shopify and we have an integration, etc. So it was useful, but ROAS had to be like at 6 or 7, return on ad spend, all that. In freight, let's say we spend $240,000 on lead coverage. If I got 2 clients that do 4 million total at a 15% margin, everybody says it's 10%, but everybody's trying to get 15%. So I'll be, try to get it at 15.
Yeah, but call it 3 clients.
Yeah, so I just broke even. And I bet if I hired 2 sales reps at 125,000 salaries each and didn't have any go-to-market motion, I'd probably have a better ROI on lead coverage than on 2 full-time account executives.
Well, you're hired. Anytime you want to come sell for me, you just let me know.
Yeah, there you go. But I'm just saying, like, the math does work out in freight because the average, the average lifetime value of a client, if you don't churn, which is the hardest thing in freight, and those who figure it out win, and those who don't just grind forever. But the value of a client is actually a lot higher than one e-commerce consumer buying one piece of rustic furniture, rustic.com.
Yeah. But we have a client right now, there's $100 million of potential freight spend in their pipeline that we have put in their pipeline.
Yeah. Now, then you still have to have a really good product and you have to be able to scale it and you got to have a team that can keep
the client. Right? You got it. Like I build the pipeline and I'm very happy to build pipe. I'm not going to close the deals for you. If I did that, I'd be in a very different role.
And you're not going to keep the clients. That's a whole separate thing. But
if you have a team that can close the deals, I will build the pipeline for you. This particular client, 100 million. And then they have one opportunity with a big OEM. It's like a $4 billion freight spend. So technically it's like 4 billion, 100 million in their potential. So we take out the top one. It's kind of silly, but that took us, 115 days to get there.
And now they own the emails of everybody who should buy from them. Right. And they can look at the 4 intent signals and they can cover all the leads. Look at that.
I love it. You're hired.
I appreciate the time. You and I both got to go back to doing what we were doing. Enjoy your village and your farmer's market tomorrow, and have a great Easter weekend.
Thank you. You too. Happy Easter.
Yeah.